On February 1st, 2018, Konami surprised fans with the new TCG archetype in Vendreads, a new zombie-based deck heavily catered to the ritual mechanics in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which at the time Konami was trying to make appealing again. They didn't pan out well at all since the deck flopped and turned players further from ritual summoning, as the deck ate up resources faster than the average ritual deck and made it difficult to get extra benefits from said resources due to strict conditions for them. It's safe to say the playstyle didn't appease anyone, but what did appease players was the artwork and style of the cards. What made Vendread a TCG favorite was the reference to not one, not two, but three gritty, dark pop culture references from TV and games, 2 horror franchises, and 1 franchise based on one of the most popular anti-heroes in all comics. We'll look further into these references and more in the unknown side of Yu-Gi-Oh! It isn't unheard of that Konami has combined multiple references inside one archetype. Cosmo is one of the many that have 2 references inside of its archetype, using Star Wars and Wizard of Oz. However, Vendread stands alone, combining 3 pop culture origins inside one archetype in a superb blend. Our superhero zombie takes pieces from 3 references: Spawn, Image Comics' popular anti-hero, Resident Evil, the popular video game horror franchise, and The Thing, which is unfortunately not our favorite lovable Fantastic Four member, but the horror franchise based on, you guessed it, The Thing. These franchises became well-woven storylines and designs for the TCG exclusive archetype, giving it a great dark gritty aura that players love. Even bits of the lore take elements based on the 3 references, solidifying the archetype's homage to them. And nothing proves this more than the hero of the story. Vendread Slayer and Vendread Savior are the faces of the archetype, both of them being based on Spawn, the dark, menacing anti-hero that debuted in May of 1992. Spawn was created by Todd McFarlane, the president and founder of Image Comics. He was also a former Marvel comic artist known for his work on popular comic series like The Amazing Spider-Man and The Incredible Hulk. Spawn, aka Albert Francis Simmons, is a former member of the US security who was betrayed by his director, Jason Wren, and killed on a mission by his fellow teammate, Chapel. He was then sent to hell due to being an assassin, where he sold his soul to a demon named Malbolgia in exchange for going back to Earth and seeing his wife again. Moral of the story? Never trust a demon, as Malbolgia held his promise but erased bits of Al's mind and used Al to collect an army of wicked souls to overthrow heaven. It probably would have done Malbolgia better not to play with Spawn's mind, as Spawn goes on to become one of the most powerful beings on Earth, and could do unfathomable feats, including banishing God and Satan from heaven and hell. It's too bad all his Yu-Gi-Oh! Counterparts were able to do is banish your resources when you needed them. To be fair, at least the designs take cool parts, as both take his aspect of Sentient Hood by using a sentient scarf and replicating Spawn's iconic chains with the use of sights. Slayer has a bit more layer on him, as his frame and coloring are based on the Tyrant, a type of biohuman in the Resident Evil series, having sharp claws when attacking. These aren't the only forms of Spawn to be replicated in the archetype. Vendread Battlelord is another reference to Spawn, this time representing the Omega Spawn, the oldest Hell Spawn in the Spawn universe, and is described as the strongest Spawn, though many don't consider him a part of the main Spawn universe. You can see that both he and Battlelord have the same bulky frame and adopt the same horns on their heads. Both are considered villains, as Battlelord leads the Vendread zombies in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore. Omega Spawn, the main villain of the Omega Island arc, decided to take over Earth after destroying Hell's army. He gave up on the conquest of Earth and decided to conquer planets in space, which was successful. He later failed to conquer Earth again in his attempts to get back at Al, the original Spawn. Vendread Executor is our last iteration of Spawn. He's based on the origin of Spawn in Spawn Resurrection, in which God brought Spawn back from Limbo with the Sword of the Spirit and his powers enhanced. This theme is incorporated in Executor's new look, with his arm spikes having a new form and energy pulsating throughout his body armor, the perfect look to take down evil in a city. Vendread Scavenger is one of the 2 Vendread ritual monsters not based on Spawn. Scavenger's origins plays homage to Nemesis T-Type, a bioorganic weapon made by the Tyrant 103 model, or T-103 being implanted with the NEA parasite. They were created in the number 6 laboratory in Umbrella, Europe. The Nemesis are highly intelligent organisms built to be super soldiers, though they were just a prototype. Only one has any battle experience, which is the famous Nemesis TO2, which was to kill anyone from stars. It was dropped off in Raccoon City and wreaked havoc, finishing off most of its targets until it was killed by Jill Valentine, who exposed it to corrosive chemicals that caused the parasite in it to mutate out of control. Jill finished off the massive blob by hitting it with a finger, an experimental railgun made by Umbrella in the current remake of Resident Evil 3 in 2020. There have been 3 different iterations of Nemesis TO2, but all 3 have the iteration of him in a black overcoat and boots. When heavily damaged, Nemesis mutates and can project long tentacles for his attacks. The heavily damaged version Nemesis is heavily leaned on in the artwork of Scavenger, who uses tentacles for his attacks instead of a rocket launcher. Surprisingly, Scar of the Vendread has more of a design based on how you usually see Nemesis, with an overcoat intact. Sadly, there are still no boots or rocket launcher because Konami doesn't want you to have fun. The lore still also plays to villains being villains, as Scar and Scavenger are the villains in the story, as seen in the ritual spell card Ravenous Vendread, just as Nemesis is one of the villains in Resident Evil 3. Chimera is based on The Thing, the main horror movie monster in the self-titled movie. The Thing is an organism that came from space whose only purpose is to survive and spread. It does so by assimilating with other life forms and even replicating whatever it assimilates, gaining more strength and intelligence with every life. The reason for this is unknown, and we do not know the origin of the Thing. Chimera perfectly represents it, as it is made of multiple animals and life forms. The card art also gives homage to the teethy, totally PG-13 hole that the Thing has on its body. Furthermore, Chimera even shows animals protruding out of its midsection, a fun little callback to the dog that protruded out of the Thing's body in the 1982 film. Chimera isn't the only card that plays homage to the Thing. Vendread Reunion shows homage to the original Thing in the prequel, The Thing in 2011. The original was found in an ice block and taken to a Norwegian base. There, the crew stupidly let the ice thaw out, because why not? And the Thing wreaks havoc before transforming into a dog and becoming the Thing we know and love for the 1982 film. Vendread Revenants needs no explanations. This is a clear shout out to Resident Evil's common foe, Revenants. Though you can chuck them as no more than being zombies, Revenants have a bit more detail in the Resident Evil universe. Some are man-made, as they're stitched together human parts and injected with the Ouroboros virus. The artwork sticks to the pale, ghoulish looks and mutation like the zombies in the game. Vendread Sturges is also based on Resident Evil lore and is usually a staple in most horror genres. Crows in Resident Evil are hostile due to them being infected with the T-virus by eating other infected small animals in Raccoon City. Though small, a huge aggressive swarm could potentially deplete your HP bar if not careful. If this seems boring, you're in luck because there's one more reference from Resident Evil in the card. Can you see it? The crow design also references the Kidnapper, an enemy that was supposed to be in Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles but was later rejected. The premise was supposed to be a large mutated bird that could pick up a person. The subtle designs of Kidnapper are given to the Sturges, including the mutated feet of the Sturge in the back. Vendread Houndhorde takes after the lovable zombie dogs we see in Resident Evil and the kennel thing from The Thing. Zombie dogs don't need much explanation, as it's pretty much under the same branch as Crow in Resident Evil. They usually roam in groups of 2 or 3, and the most popular dog of choice for the design is a Doberman. A Doberman is used as the middle dog for the artwork. However, Konami gave the design a hilarious spin for the pack, adding a Newfoundland to the top and a Beagle to the bottom. As for the extra teeth and horrific look, you can chalk that up as a tribute to the Kennel Thing, the form the Thing gained when it assimilated with the dogs on Outpost 31 after it escaped the Norwegian base. Inside the kennel, Kennel Thing began to split open its head, creating 3 jaws, spitting acid at the other dogs, and began to assimilate with the other sled dogs, thus beginning its plan to take over the base. The middle hound in the Vendread Houndhorde shows a similar splitting of the jaws, though it's just 2 instead of 3. Anima doesn't have that much of a reference to go off of. However, the best giveaway to what this card referenced is in a small detail in its art. The card is wearing a pendant, as seen in Vendread Origin and Revendread Slayer. This means this entity is tied to Slayer, most likely the love of his life. This could also be a reference to Wanda Blake. However, it's not a direct reference as the card looks nothing like Wanda, but it could also be a reference to the image of Wanda Spawn visualized in his mind when he was altered by Melbolgia, which was usually a hazy spirit-like figure he couldn't clearly make out. The artwork for Anima probably plays off of this, and the artwork was made to be a bit darker toned for the archetype. Core finishes our monster lineup with a bang, as it is the best of all 3 worlds. Core refers to the Ouroboros virus from Resident Evil, Necroplasm from Spawn, and the Blood Thing from The Thing. The Ouroboros virus was an RNA virus created by Albert Wesker, and then used by Alex Wesker to create the perfect bioweapon. The virus was used in multiple tests and projects, including the Ouroboros Project, in which the virus was prepped to be loaded on missiles and scattered across the world. Luckily, the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance stopped the attack. Unfortunately, this didn't stop Alex from continuing her testing, and she began to do more tests and projects on Scene Island, resulting in the creation of the Revenants. Ultimately, she was thwarted once again, as exposure to the viruses caused her to mutate, and she was killed off by Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield's sister. A neoplasm is the substance that the Hellspawns are composed of and is basically their energy. Hellspawns start with 9,999 units of it. When it's depleted, Hellspawns can no longer operate on Earth and are sent back to Hell. Spawn's suit is made out of pure necroplasm, and it feeds off his energy, allowing him to use his body as a weapon. Blood Thing is more of a ridiculous version of the Thing, as his blood is also sentient and able to move. This proved that every cell in the Thing's body was driven by the instinct to survive and continue to assimilate. Core design takes a unique approach to these references. While the core's middle shows homage to necroplasm, it decides to show a mutated version of an RNA strand, showing the mutation of the Ouroboros and, at the same time, giving a slight nod to how astonishing the Thing assimilation ability is on a cellular level. The Vendread spell and trap cards are a mixed bag when it comes to references. Some cards are specifically made for the TCG and don't have any references, like Vendread Evolution and Vendread Charge. Others have a slight reference to something similar in their homage to said pop culture. Vendread Origin falls into this category, as in the pick, we see Slayer having a conflict in his mind while fighting the darkness, as we see the pendant with him and his love. This similarity can be based on Spawn's backstory, where Melbogia altered his mind, but vague memories of Wanda Blake, his wife, keep him grounded for the moment. Reorigin's artwork shows a zombie created by the darkness. This is a shout out to the process of being infected with a Tyrant virus, one of the many viruses in Resident Evil 3. The Tyrant virus was a series of progenitor viruses made in the 1960s at Umbrella Pharmaceuticals. The T-virus was made for the goal of the T-virus project, an experiment to make the need for large-scale arming unnecessary by giving the world a bioweapon with 100% morality rate. As time passed, the plan changed from making a lethal virus to focusing on making one that can mutate its host, making it physically stronger and keeping it alive. Think Captain America with the side effects of physical brain damage, necrosis, organ failure, and the murderous hunger that drives you into cannibalism. You can easily get this infection too, as the virus can be transmitted from injection, contaminated food/drink, or simply breathing it in while it's airborne. Though people believe that this city in Vendread's Nights is most likely Skyscraper from the Elemental Hero archetype, the reference is more akin to Raccoon City, the Midwestern city in the United States that was destroyed by the T-virus outbreak in 1998. Raccoon City is more popularly known for the video game Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, in which the Umbrella Security Service, or USS, is developed to assist in stopping Dr. William Birkin from handing over the T-virus to the US military and retrieving the G-virus. What ends up is an all-out battle leaking out all over the city, leading to many people getting infected and even having the USS go toe-to-toe with the Nemesis T-type. Vendread Revolution is the last card to cover. Its artwork is a reference to assimilation, which is the ability the Thing uses to absorb living organisms and prey. The Thing must do this to thrive and survive. Through assimilating with said prey, it can gain more knowledge and even show signs of intelligence the bigger it gets. In the 1982 film, the Thing is shown using divide and conquer tactics by replicating the people it absorbed. It also relies heavily on its instinct to survive, and will selfishly abandon its main body or any replication to the best living situation. Assimilation does have its cons though. The Thing can't replicate non-living items. This makes replicating clothes, fillings, shoes, or earrings impossible. This can make it a dead giveaway and suspect the replicas to be fake. In the Thing 2011 prequel, the main character, Kate, figures out Carter is a Thing due to his earring being on the wrong side of his body, which earns Carter Thing a nice warm fire bath. It also takes on every aspect of whatever it replicates, including bad things like mental issues or defects like a weak heart or sickle cells. It also can't assimilate with dead organisms. If a dead deer is in front of it, it wouldn't be able to do anything with it since the cells and organs can no longer operate. Vendread Revolution puts a more edgier, magic-based spin on the Thing's assimilation power. It goes even further with its graveyard effect, allowing you to return 5 banished zombies to your deck and draw 1 card by banishing it, giving it an assimilation type effect. And with that, our review of the Edgelord base archetype is over. Vendread's beautiful details to 3 of the best Dark-themed franchises made it easy on the eyes of anyone that loves badass-looking cards. It's too bad the lackluster effects were an eyesore for anyone trying to make the deck a contender. The good news is that if they want to expand the deck, there are plenty of references and untouched lore they can take from, as their universes are vast. It also helps that the archetype is zombie-based, with some of the best generic support in the game ranging from Unizombie to Mizuki and even the pseudo-floodgate zombie world. We're sure to see Vendread get some great legacy support in the future. Until then, we can admire the hard work put into designs and bring the dark artworks into the light. Alright, and that's the video. Are there any other movies or game references that we may have missed? If so, let us know down in the comments below.